Hi, Shonali. How are you?
Hi, Abhay. You're in my hometown and I'm in yours.
I don't know what my hometown is, to be honest with you. I don't have a permanent home. I have homes in every town that I go to nowadays, it looks like. I have Mumbai, Goa, and LA, all
Love.
three. So, well, you have your chai to cheers? No.
Funny. Funny.
You have party? Okay, cheers. There we go.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really excited to sit here today to have this chat with you. I'll admit I saw Ammu much later, much after it released. I have, of course, seen Margarita with the Straw when it was at IFLA. I love that movie, and I think Ammu is another great. That's the film you started with, a really bold film to start with. How long back did you make this film?
So I made it 2004. 2005, I was in the Berlin Film Festival. 2004, I shot it.
2004 you shot it. Okay. And is this something you developed and written? I mean, I think you're producer, writer, and director on this, aren't you?
Yes, I'm everything. I graduated film school with two little boys. One was literally a baby, and I was like, I can't do anything living in LA, like managing the children. And when they were 2 and 6, I felt, okay, it's becoming civilized and I need to make my first film. And then I chose the most difficult subject possible, which is the genocide against the Sikh community, which nobody wanted to touch with with anything. But it was something I couldn't not do because it was I was deeply affected by it when I was in college myself in '84 in Miranda House, Delhi University, worked in the camps, and it left an indelible impact on me. So somehow when I decided I want to do my first film, it was just like a call, like I couldn't stay away from that subject. But I knew I wanted to do it as a dramatic story and not as a docu, so that it should reach, as many people as possible.
Yeah, no, I think it works. It works really well as a dramatic film. Obviously, your main character is a fictional character, right? Through her, you've kind of used an incident that took place for real and sort of draw us into this world of hers and her discovery. And through her discovery, the shock and the pain that she feels, we feel, and it's really effective. Um, do you think one of the things I really took from it is how corruption and violence seems to be, class and caste, all of it just seems to be very systemic within Indian society. Are you saying that in this film? Is that a point you're trying to make?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of parallels. I feel like since 47, 84 was sort of a watershed in our country. You
Yeah,
know, it was really a watershed because that large number of, it was really a pogrom. But it's not that 84 is the first time that
yeah,
a specific group of people with a specific ethnic identity were targeted and killed. It's not the first time. So you're absolutely right. This is something very much like, carrying on from before independence. Like we basically carried on a system that were handed down to us by the ruling British, I
yeah.
feel.
You feel it can be traced back to the English, our corruption, classism,
Yeah, I
caste.
feel more than corruption, it's really more than corruption. It comes down to that when you want to rule and you're in the minority and you want to rule, and
Yeah,
then you use caste or class or religion to set up people against each other. And
sure.
so what happens is I just remember, see, because it was living history for me. I'm living in Delhi 1 minute, where 1 minute we're making jokes about Sardars, and it's absolutely kosher to make a joke about a Sardar, and we're all just happily there regularly in Delhi, and the next minute, suddenly, it is just like there's a whole change in how the Sikh community feel also and how anybody's viewing them. Like there's just that shift. Now we see there's prejudice exists, but this was something, there's no prejudice. And in the next minute, there's prejudice. So in Miranda House, to give an example of prejudice, so
Mm.
Khalsa College is a Sikh, mostly Sikh boys in that college, right across from MH. Now we've always had festivals together, so many things together, coming and going, no issues. This happens, the college gets locked down, and suddenly the girls in the hostel become hysterical and they start throwing up after dinner. And I was the hostel cultural section. I was trying to figure out what's happening, and they were like, "Oh, we've heard a rumor that the Khalsa College boys have poisoned Khalsa College boys have poisoned the water supply and they're going to attack." And they got terrified. And this is, you see the power of rumor and how rumor can create a mass hysteria and fear. And then, that can lead to violence. So, of course, in this case, the girls are not being violent, but I'm just saying you can just watch and see
But
how
they
rude
thought that
and
there was
prejudiced.
violence against them by the Sikh college
Yes,
boys.
1 minute these college boys are their friends, the next minute they're thinking, oh, these they are connected, they're Sikh terrorists, they've poisoned us, and they're throwing up. It's just unbelievable how that works.
Well, it's kind of like what happened in partition, right? The violence that got unleashed when people didn't know, okay, are we Pakistan? Are we India? Are we safe here? Should we go there? And while they're crossing over the borders, both sides was killing each other. There seems to be this sort of I'm trying to wrap my head around our culture, which is so poetic and beautiful and peaceful and enlightening on one level, but extremely violent on the other. And as you said, it sometimes, like with the 84, with the Sikh riots, it was overnight. It was prejudice that was overnight, not something that had been played upon or built upon centuries. This was just instant.
Only thing I would interject there is, at least in the case of 84, 1984 specific Delhi riots, it was not a riot. And that is what the film shows. It was very clear cut, organized, mob being brought out. And because when I worked in the camps, we basically, from the history department, we went and worked, we recorded thousands and thousands and thousands of people as we were witnesses, because our history department said this is living history. And so we recorded. And what one kept hearing is people saying that Bahar se aaye, like it was not their neighbors. We are alive because of our Hindu neighbors. So I went in there feeling that, okay, I'm Hindu and I'm going to work in these camps, and how are they going to be towards me? Me, myself, not having any communal thought, I was worried. And immediately that went when widows were just embracing and just talking and saying, we are alive because of our Hindu neighbors. Our husbands, fathers, sons were killed in front of our eyes by goons. So it was extremely clear that this was targeted. Election lists were circulated, and specific Sikh houses in Defense Colony, even leave alone slums, were marked, that this is a Sikh home. So this was not a riot. It was an absolute killing. So that violence came from the state, where you had policemen standing. My aunt was a journalist at the time. Policemen were standing guarding the mobs. They were not guarding the people being killed. They were guarding the mobs. So this was not that Indians had violence. It was violence coming from those in power.
What do you think makes it so? Because it's happened more than once, what you're describing in our country. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I'm sorry, because you live in this world and you make movies on such subjects. I've always wondered what makes the people who lead us, the leaders who lead our people, what makes our people suddenly just follow orders without a second thought? Like even in our elections, you always vote for the person who's from your community. You vote for the person who's part of your caste. Even till today, that is a thing. Even the people who stand up and say, we should go beyond class, we should go beyond caste. Within their own societies, they still practice those norms. And I'm trying to figure out, why don't people see it? You know what I'm trying to say? It's like the middle class who are educated and want to feel like they're open-minded, they're liberal, they're progressive. But even they will never have their house help or servant, as they say, sit on the table and eat with them, because that's someone who works for you. He or she is a servant, and they have a separate bowl altogether. That's something we can trace to caste. And I think, do you think that caste, which is so strongly embedded within our psyche, our DNA, for centuries, that makes us more vulnerable to be led astray by the leaders that be, because we're so led to condition to believe that we are this community and they're of that community?
No, you're sitting in a country where also the leaders are leading people astray, right? In the United States of America. So this is not.
Yeah. I'm not saying, we're talking about India. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. No, so I'm saying is that this is a phenomenon globally. That is, in the sense, globally, there's no country. So therefore, I will say it's not to do with caste. It's really to do with when you have systems, when you have those who are ruling are not ruling for the benefit of the majority of the people, right? When they're ruling just to fill the coffers of the minority. This is what capitalism is. So then when that happens, then you have to employ all kinds of things, which is divide and rule is one of those. And so then in specific to your country, you can utilize caste or you can utilize whatever. So in our country, I won't say that it's necessarily only to do with caste, because I think religion has been a big one that's also been, a big tool.
Caste a part of religion?
I guess caste is a part of religion, but I think that the point being that it's not that those who are uh, the ordinary people who have different castes or whatever are acting in a certain way because we have some mindset of having caste. Really, the violence, killing that happens again and again, it's organized. Again and again. It's not being done by ordinary people. It's not ordinary people just listening to the rulers. Goons that are paid goons, paid hooligans of a political party is not the same. That's a mob. That's not ordinary people. It's not that you can go and even somebody who say anti-Muslim in the next door and will say, no, beta, you can't marry a Muslim, but they won't go and kill a Muslim. So that is
this to that point, like, yeah, no, beta, you just don't marry a Muslim. And that's very often heard amongst the educated middle class. That means that's what my point is. It's so deeply entrenched within us that even the educated don't think before they say what they say, like, oh, be friendly with Muslims, just don't marry one. And it's like, and then you go to these middle class societies, whether it's like Mumbai or Delhi, and you don't see many Muslims within Hindu dominated societies. So it's like, you yourself are practicing against what you preach. Like,
yeah. Without a doubt, prejudice has become endemic and it's unbearable. It's become even more so today against Muslims. But I want to go back to the issue of Ammu, which is to do with how the hell do you kill 10,000 people in 3 days in the capital city of the world's biggest democracy? I want that question answered. So this is not a matter of you can have caste prejudice, religious prejudice, whatever prejudice, your patriarchal society, you awful to your women. 10,000 people being killed in 3 days in the capital city. How the hell can that happen? And nobody is punished. The guilty have never been punished. Major ministers were involved. This is what is horrific about it.
Yeah, that's what makes this film really hard to watch. It was hard to watch for me. It's a really well-made film, but knowing what happened, I was a child when it happened, so but I still have memories of it. Watching the TV, looking at my family, and I remember them being in tears while watching TV because we are of Sikh background, we are Sikh ourselves. And to hear...
Were you in Delhi at the time? Or
no, we were in what was called Bombay back then. So we were safe, but I remember family members being on the phone, watching TV, crying, relatives coming home, and it was intense. It was intense, and it was unheard of. Like, as you said, it was just overnight. I think it's very commendable that you made a film on this subject. And I think, and Coco, I love her as an actor. I always have. This wasn't her first movie, was it?
Yeah, she had done Mr. and Mrs. Iyer with her mom.
And this was like her second film, was it? I think she's just awesome. Oh boy, what do I ask without getting too political? I hate those generic ones. How was it making the movie? And maybe let's see if I can find it more interesting. Okay. So this was your first film. Was it difficult for you getting it made? And we're talking 2003, 2000. You were shooting in 2003, right?
Yeah, end of 2003. Yeah.
So how did you go about putting it together? You said you graduated film school. You were living in LA. What was the process? Like, how did you manage?
It was so hard because first I thought, this is a slam dunk because, there's the well-off Sikh community in North America. So of course they're going to support this film. So that was the shock to me when nobody wanted to touch it. So they were very interested in anything to do with the Golden Temple. So had I made something, about the Golden Temple, but they did not want to touch the genocide either. And I felt it was a sort of pain and wound that nobody wanted to reopen. It's too painful and they didn't want it reopened. They didn't want it as a film. And so I thought, this will be easy to get backing on from private financing from the Sikh community. And I didn't get that. I didn't get it from any film production house in Bombay because everybody was like, no, there's no way we can touch this. So literally it started with my two boys giving me, my little one gave me his $1, his tooth fairy money. And my 11-year-old gave me, he was 6, he gave me $11. My sister gave me $1,000, her entire money. And my husband gave me the fat sum, which was our entire life savings of $50,000. So with that $51,011, it felt, I just started. I acted as if I had everything I needed. So like I went to India, I got cocoa, like I acted as if I had the full money, and I kept moving forward with pre-production, and you just get more things in place. Then I kept getting, $10,000 from somebody else. Then finally I found one wonderful Sikh person in LA. By then I had raised some $200,000. Just again, another family member gave me 50,000.
Yeah.
He's not even political. He's my brother he lives in Australia, Bonnie, and he just believed in the story. He believed in the story. He believed in me making my film. And so then I found the community, and this guy, Mr. Malik, then he said that, I will find. And he just found genuine people who gave $5,000, $10,000, like that. We just raised the money. But I kept moving forward with pre-production, location scouting, everything, get all the actors in place, everything. So that finally, I started making it without even all of the money in place. Just trusted and just went with it and made it. But it was really hard. It took a couple of years to just find that money after I finished the script, like 2 years just to pool all this little monies together to sort of make it.
Yeah, because the time 2003, 2004, my first film came out in 2005. And even when I was doing films that weren't maybe not as extreme as yours, but not considered mainstream, were very difficult to put up. Nobody would back you in any way. And here you are, first time filmmaker, and women directors were still far less back then when you started as they are today. So you would have had a lot that you were up against.
Yeah, really hard. And then very luckily, like the Berlin, so interestingly, where the major festivals are concerned, I didn't know this because sitting in LA, I'm from the UCLA Film School, and we, used to sending us short films, and, you fill out the forms and you put money and all this thing, good people you do. You come to India, it's a whole nother scenario because the collectors of the major festivals are there, and you so easily your film gets seen. I didn't even realize that was happening. Like Sham Shroff was releasing it, just 3 prints. We were having a release.
I was just going to come to how many screens do you get in India? Yeah. 3?
Yeah, just 1 in Delhi, 1 in Bombay, and 1 in Calcutta. And then I put my own money. And I put my own money, 2 more prints I put with my own money. I said in Bombay, we should put more prints. And so we had 5 prints out there, 5 prints. Anyway, so at that time when one was just doing it.
How did that, sorry, I'm very interested because I'm in the same zone. How did that do with 5 prints? Did it get anything?
No, I don't think Shyamji expected the Shringar films at that time. They didn't expect, and this is before multiplexes. So this is just the cusp before multiplexes. He didn't think that, this film is going to bring me money, but he loved the film so much.
Yeah.
And it must have made him money because it ran houseful in those 5 things. And they held for 3 months. I remember so many people in Bombay.
They wouldn't keep it for 3 months if they want.
right. For 3 months, it ran in these 5 theaters, which is quite nice. But the point is, there was some press screening or something. And at that press screening, there was Berlin selectors were there, Cannes. And so Berlin, Cannes, and Rotterdam all wanted it. And I was just a debut. And I didn't even understand how major that is. And so then, yeah. So then I went to Berlin because it was the very next one. It was the one coming up the most soonest. And then TIFF took it after that. So that really sets you then as a filmmaker, actually. It's amazing. And so that was just a lucky break because just like they were there. I don't feel if I'd mailed it out and sent it the proper channel way, I don't know. I feel it's luck. So much is luck. So it was beautiful to also be in Berlin and Toronto and then have that world recognition for the film.
I would differ with you on luck. I don't think it's luck. Like just when you were saying that, you said, you know what, I've got X amount of money. It's obviously nothing close to what I need, but I'm going to pretend like I have all of it. I'm going to talk to people and let them think I have all the money in place so that they come on board. It'll take care of itself. I think that's what got it made. I also think that's what led it to the festivals because of your conviction. And you were convinced that, no, this is just going to happen. And I think that's how the universe also works. I've been listening to many lectures about manifestations. Let's just admit it. And I think you did exactly what one has to do to manifest something.
But when you say manifestation, it would be when, like I would be on the treadmill in the gym. I'm a big worker outer, by the way. And so I would be in the gym in LA, West Hollywood, in that gym. And I would just
Equinox?
visualize, huh? No, no,
Equinox?
no. Not I couldn't afford, no. Um, so I would be just visualizing myself like I'm at Sundance or at Berlin. Or I would visualize myself on that stage. I would just visualize that. And I didn't believe or know about manifestation, but literally I just saw that. The film is finished and it's out there. That was my vision. I had that visual of me standing there and doing a Q&A in this amazing thing. And then that's what happened. That's what happened.
Yeah. And also then further your choice of keeping it English. That was a big, again, you just kind of put everything that could possibly go against
Hindi,
you.
Bengali, and English. Yeah, in the sense, at that time, see, in retrospect, I would have made it a Hindi film. Like, I regret that. I feel at that time I was being that very authentic filmmaker, that this is a girl who's grown up in America. She's Indian American. She doesn't know Hindi well. She's going to speak. If she speaks Hindi, it'll be accented Hindi, which I won't be able to bear. So she has to speak English. Then the Bengali family will speak Bengali and the Punjabis will speak Punjabi and Hindi. So then that makes it very difficult to sell a film and to get a film released. I didn't understand those things. I was just...
ये कौन सी भाषा की है मैडम? कितनी भाषाएं? 3, 4. Well, I liked that. I liked when they were sitting in the camp with the Sikh family and then they switched to Punjabi. And it just, what it did for me, at least as an audience, show me the richness of the culture, the fabric of the culture, where you have these many dialects from these many communities, and somehow we make do, somehow we understand one another, because certain dialects are close enough to be understood by the other, not completely, but somewhat. And it just, the look of someone who's from a Sikh community as opposed to someone who's from a Bengali community, as opposed to someone from you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You managed to get that, which is lost within, okay, these are the boxes you have to check to sell a movie. One language for all, and this language preferably for this market. Right. And so everything just becomes one color, which is not who we are.
Yes, you're so right. And I was being authentic to my upbringing in India, where we're speaking multiple languages and fluidly and, just moving between so many cultures. And also I didn't want that generic North Indian for the family of and because I'm Bengali, so it was easy for me to get the nuances of the Bengali family. But I was just like, I don't want that, what we see in Hindi cinema. You always have the generic North Indians, which is very irritating when the country has such rich multiplicity of ethnicities,
I mean, with Bollywood, they're just padding for the hero and heroine. Parsi, the funny and jovial Sardarji, the friend, the aunt. I mean, it's reduced. So, which is another reason why it's nice to see movies like Ammo and even Margarita with the Straw, for that matter, is where you have these layered characters. You have authenticity to the way people look and the way they sound. They're not there just to pad anyone. They're there to further the story. I think Amo has all of those ingredients in there. And I know you did The Sky is Pink last. Are you busy? Are you continuing on with the kind of stuff that you're doing? Are you making more stuff like this and provoking us?
I did a lot of writing during the pandemic, and it's disappointing for me that the platforms aren't as daring as I would have wanted them to be. So it comes down to, you give a script and then you hear back that they want light and young, which is they want content which is light and young, especially coming out of pandemic. That was said to me, and that was just disappointing, because you just felt like, oh, the platforms are coming to India, now we can do cutting edge material, because certainly international content is cutting edge, but they want to penetrate the smaller towns, and it's that same box office pressure that you have in cinema.
To subscribers.
Yes, so that was disappointing. So yes, so it's still down to that same struggle when you believe in what you do. So you want to make that cutting edge thing, but then it's still, it's not whatever, it's not fitting their thing. So with the series, you can only go to the platforms because nobody can put in money to make a series. So then it's just like, okay, let me just again make an independent film or a bigger film, like whatever, just figuring out all those things. But I'm doing an anthology right now, which I'm excited about.
Oh, that's lovely. Nice.
Mm.
I mean, you're not considering series. You only want to stick to films.
I did because I pitched such a lovely cutting edge series, but like that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
that's disappointing because then they're not interested in that. But then you can't do anything else with that. Whereas a film, which also they were like, oh, light and young, because it's not, it has older people and blah blah. Then I'm like, okay, I'll go out and find the money. I'll make it. I can do that with a film, but I
Mm,
can't do that with a series. So
yeah.
then I'm like, oh, if I have to try to think of series only being, so I've been given some series by other people, which is fun. Like it's not that I don't want to do fun things. Somehow when I myself write, I may not come up with those things. So the material I myself wrote, I found that platforms, yeah, somehow I'm not in tune with India's producers and platforms, my own work. But I'm being given stuff which is light. I'm like, okay, give me all these kitty party murders, give this, give that, this, that. I'm like, chalo, kuch aur karte hain.
My solution in a situation like yours, because we're similar minded, is just move towards dark comedies. So I can give them comedy, but I can have an element of darkness and commentary that I vibe with.
See, but dark comedy is brilliant, but then you're brilliant because I'm just not capable of doing dark comedy. I wish I want to be given, you please write a dark comedy script that you will act in and I'll direct.
Well, Shonali, that was awesome having this chat with you as always. For all of you, if you want to check out Ammu, it's playing on the Bandra Film Festival page on YouTube. The link will be there down below. But Shonali, I'm looking forward to what you're going to make next.
Yes, looking
Keep
forward
doing
to
what you're doing.
working with you, Abhay.
Yes, hopefully. Fingers
All
crossed.
right.
Both. And toes. I can't really put my toes up. I'm wearing pajamas. Let's hide that. Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Sending
Take
you love.
care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Chat again soon. Bye.